Ready
when you're ready.
Cool. Welcome to Manchester SEO podcast. Today we have with us the very talented Emma Boyle. Welcome, Emma.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
So, as you said, I'm a photographer. I now specialise in brand photography.
Okay.
That kind of came about naturally, like I'd never set out as my career to be a photographer. It just happened. Came out of a hobby, I suppose, like a lot of photographers anyway. But yeah, I worked in law for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wasn't a solicitor, I was a legal exec, so I wasn't quite qualified.
Right.
But yeah, I did that for 18 years from the age of 18.
Wow.
And I loved it, actually. I really did enjoy the job. I can't say I didn't. Enjoyed it. And then I had two children, two boys, who are now, well, one of them's an adult, he's 18.
Wow.
And a 16-year-old, showing me age now. When they were very young, we had a photographer come round to the house and do some photographs of them.
Yeah.
I'd never, other than a little compact camera, I'd never picked up a professional camera before. Sure. This photographer came round, he was really good, but he brought this big white backdrop with him, white background, and set it up, and I was like, oh no, I don't want them sort of pictures. I don't want that American cheese it, And so he said, well, what is it you want? So I said, well, can we just do some natural pictures, just of them playing? And, I didn't really want me in them as such. So we did, and I was just like, oh, can we do this? Could we have him doing that? Can we have Harry jumping off the sofa? And, just really sort of capturing his personality. And at the end of it, he said to me, have you never done photography before? So I said, no. He said, well, you should. You've got a really good eye for it.
Right, okay.
And I didn't think anything of it, to be fair. I've always loved photography. I love looking at pictures. It was always something I knew I loved, but I never pursued it. And then that Christmas, my husband bought me my first DSLR camera, Nikon, and booked me on a course as well.
Okay.
And I think because he booked me on the course is how I fell in love with it. I think had he have just bought me the camera, I'd still be shooting on auto and it's probably still be in its box. But he booked me on this intense, I think it was a 3-day course in Manchester, and I just loved it. The minute I went into the room with like-minded people, and the college tutor there, Peter Richardson, amazing photographer, I just fell in love with it. I just absolutely, when you just know you really enjoy something, the 3 days went by so quickly. I wanted to keep doing it, I didn't want to leave, and just absolutely loved it. So I carried on with it, just did pictures of the children and didn't think anything of it, just literally as a hobby. And then that same college or organisation tutor, he came to me at one point and said, I had then gone on to do a sixth form course as well at Eccles sixth form. So I did pursue it a little bit more. But that tutor, Peter, came to me and said, I've had a couple approach me. They've got minimal budget. I think it's a £200 budget it was. Would you photograph their wedding? I was like, absolutely no chance would I ever photograph a wedding.
Jumping in at the deep end, isn't it?
Literally, I've been doing say family shoots for friends. And not even, at this point, probably not even charging. I was like, maybe £50, £100 or something. So he said, would you do this wedding? I was like, no way. I've been married, I got married myself. I know how important the pictures are. And he was like, no, I think you'd be really good at it. There's no pressure. Sure. They know you're a student. So if you want to, it's yours. And to be fair to him, all I had at the time was a basic DSLR. And he gave me his whole camera equipment. And he said, you can borrow everything. It must have been thousands of pounds worth of gear. So I agreed, and then said, but actually, I'll do it if you can get another student to do it with me, just to take that pressure off. So he did. He got another lady called Kate. So we split it. We got £100 each. And it was at, I don't know whether you know Great John Street Hotel in Manchester. Beautiful venue, stunning.
Fantastic.
Couple were lovely, dead chilled, and I shot my very first wedding and got paid for it. And kind of liked it. and it just evolved then, and yeah, that's how it all began.
Well, St John's Street, they probably spent all the budget on the venue.
I know. Even the parking was more than what I earned that day.
Perhaps it was his job, and she said, "Have you sorted out the photography?" And you went, "What photography?"
Yeah,
I
probably.
thought you'd done that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, no, they were a lovely couple, and the pictures were good. They were nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my very first, what I felt like my professional start.
It's a great way of getting some examples of work as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere.
Yeah,
No one will take you on unless they see you work.
Yeah, that's it.
And then, so how, from those beginnings, how did it develop into something that's more of a...
Into a job.
Yeah, into a job.
So off the back of doing that first wedding, obviously, it was like Facebook was my friend then, and I kind of put like a bit of a portfolio up and put some of the pictures up, and friends share it and comment, and then I kind of thought, oh, okay, maybe this could be a bit of a side hustle, I suppose, at the time. Like, I was still working, I was working 4 days a week then. So yeah, it was a bit of a side hustle really, but just more because I loved it, as opposed to thinking it'd be anything more than that. Extra money, go towards treats, holidays and stuff, and I just got busier and busier. So I was still doing some family photography. Weddings were building up, and it was getting to a point where I was working full time, photographing every weekend, doing a wedding, and then every evening editing. And I thought, something's got to give here.
Sure.
So this was 8 years ago, and then I built up enough weddings for the year that I thought I can afford now to go full time.
Wow, okay.
So I had the confidence, because I think with weddings, obviously a lot of it's paid up front, or deposits paid up front, so it's pretty much guaranteed, unless obviously the wedding don't go ahead. But luckily I never had that. So yeah, I was able to kind of give up my job and go full-time photography, which I never even imagined when I started out.
Yeah, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I was especially with weddings and so many people, I think personality is important.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, photographers are picked because you get on with them. And
yeah,
along with
100%. Yeah. I still in like what I do now, personal branding.
Yeah.
I think it all comes down to connection, and so I remember going on a workshop course, like a business course for wedding industry. And the photographer, it was 2 photographers running it, lovely ladies. One of them was like a real colourful, vibrant, out there person. She loved cats. So she was talking about how she attracts like-minded people. And then the other photographer was like a Manchester, quite gritty, tattooed, just got that great image about her. And she was like, so they were going around the table like, so what's your thing? And I was there was a lady sat next to me, Imogen, who I'm still good friends with now. And I kind of leaned over and I went, I think I'm just normal. I went, I've got nothing quirky about me. What am I going to say? And she went, well, that's your thing, isn't it? Yeah. And to be fair, they're the clients that I attracted, just normal, quite down-to-earth people. And luckily, I never had any diva brides or awkward clients. And yeah, we just got on. I'm friends with most of them still.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
And one thing I'm fascinated with when it comes to photography, because you can tell sometimes there's pictures that bring out life in people, and I'm interested in the ways you go about doing that. Being out in the field for a wedding is very different to then doing brand photography or headshots or people in the working environment. Do you have any advice, or perhaps advice isn't the best way of saying it, but talk me through.
So you mean how to get the personality out of somebody?
Yeah, is there a knack for that kind of thing?
I think it just comes down to making that person feel comfortable.
Yeah. So
I think no matter what industry you're in terms of photography, if you get along with the person and you make them feel relaxed, then you're going to get that personality. So be it a wedding, obviously I always meet the bride and groom before the wedding. I'd get to know them. I'd always do a pre-wedding shoot as well. I always used to do an engagement shoot, and that kind of just like, that helps so much on the day.
Sure.
I knew them, they knew me, they knew how we worked together. I knew like their awkwardness or not awkwardness, you know, and you just work with that. And so that applies now for if I'm doing headshots. You know, sometimes I'll go into companies and they'll give me 30 minutes to photograph 10 people or something. And you just got to have that little bit of chat and relax them and say, you know, I get how awkward it can be. So even when I had my wedding photographed, I said to the photographer, I did not want one single posed image. I kind of regret that now because he didn't do one single posed image.
Did as he was told.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I got married 21 years ago this year.
Oh, wow.
So back then it wasn't really heard of doing documentary photography. He was a French photographer who had moved over here, and it was quite a big thing over in France. So I said to him, I just want pure documentary because I just loved capturing people's emotions and personalities, and I didn't want to be posed. It just want me. Same when I had the children done, I didn't want them posed. So I think even in my photography now, I try not to make people feel awkward and just get them to relax. So just chatting with people before you stick the camera in the face is the main thing, I would say. Yeah.
Building up a rapport.
Yeah, totally.
I think posing for photos on wedding days can take up most of the day as well, so you don't want to...
People don't want to do that. They want to enjoy their own wedding.
Yeah.
So with personal branding now, before I photograph anybody, I will always do a Zoom call with them or meet them, talk about the business, find out everything about their industry, find out their values, why they do what they do, how they want to show up, and then that's before we then like do a workbook together. So it's kind of them putting everything down in writing. It gives me a good understanding of how they want to portray the business, who they're talking to, who their ideal clients are. And then we'll go on another Zoom before the shoot as well, to talk about props, colours, clothing, where we're going to do the shoot. So there's a lot that goes on before a brand shoot. So that client, when they meet me on the day, it's like they already know me. So we'll get a coffee, we'll chat first, and then I'll pick my camera up. I never put a camera in someone's face before we've had a good chat first.
No. It's interesting you say that because that works across... other industries as well, I think. So if you're creating content for a business, it makes sense to learn about them first, so that you know their tone of voice or the values and how they communicate what they do. And I hadn't thought of that being the case for photography as well, but it makes sense.
Absolutely, because I mean, you know, any photographer can do a headshot, or should be able to. But it's more than a headshot, you know. I think, like I always say to my clients, there's no point in just having headshots. You need content. So every post you do, we try and create the content before we create the image. So we'll talk about the purpose, the reason for it, and most importantly, telling the story of the image. You know, people, it's a cliche, isn't it? But people do buy from people. And in branding, it's so important now, especially like everything's social media, and so, you know, you know, it's important to have a good website, good photography on your website. But I think your visuals on social media are equally as important, or more important.
It's very true. Myself and George talk about this quite a lot in terms of, you know, what is it that engages people? What is it that people buy from? Part of the reason for doing the podcast is I think it's really nice to hear people talk rather than and you get to know them a bit better, and people buy from people.
100%.
Perfection isn't always what people buy.
Definitely. And I think like it's like even going into, you know, say your local coffee shop or something, like everyone can go into a Starbucks or Costa, you know. But when you go into that local business where, say, the management know you, you know, you want that connection with somebody. You want that person to be friendly and chatty, and you want to walk in there feeling good about the experience, not just, you know, on a drive. Otherwise, you just go through a drive-through, wouldn't you?
It's true. So when we're talking about being a business owner and running a business and keeping that going while perhaps being a parent, having other things going on in life.
Mm-hmm.
What are the kind of challenges for you in the industry and with life, I suppose?
I suppose going back to, I feel like all I've talked about is wedding photography, but going back to wedding photography, I started it when the children were very small. At that point it worked for me, so I could be around in the week for them, and then at weekend I was out doing the shoots, and my husband was around then obviously to look after the children. But as the kids got older, I needed to be around at weekends, and I kind of like resented not having my weekends anymore, and missed like going to watch the boys play football and going to the birthday parties, and just like little things, and going out with friends. I miss like just going out on an evening for a meal. So that's why I went into commercial work, because I soon realised that although I liked weddings, it was controlling me rather than me controlling my work. So that's why I switched. And that was probably about, I think in fact it was my last wedding I did was in November before lockdown, before COVID hit. Which I think it was a good thing that I'd got out of the wedding industry, because as businesses, for certain times we were still able to work B2B. So obviously COVID was a massive impact on so many businesses. But on the flip side, for me, so many businesses started up. So I just created loads of content. I did loads of research into branding photography, and niche down. I really honed in on what it was that people needed to show up. Everyone was on social media at the time, so because there was nothing else to do, also, so for me, that challenge was a good challenge for me. It made me realise what I wanted to do and how I wanted to build a business and manage my time better. So that worked perfectly for me. But in terms of more challenges in running my business now, time management is probably my biggest challenge. Because I think when I worked in the legal industry, I did all the litigation, so everything was to a court timeline. So I just literally went in on a Monday morning, checked what my diary was, and I had to work to that diary. Whereas now I'm in charge of my diary. So like going for a walk in the morning is more important. Going to the gym is quite important for me. And it's a work-life balance, but you've also got to be quite strict with yourself at times and manage your time better. That's my biggest challenge.
I know in certain areas of law it can be a volume-based kind of business, and so you have to be very organised, very process-driven, and it's long hours. One thing we've spoken about with business owners is kind of what have they used from their past life that helps them with what they do now. I find it fascinating that sometimes even like childhood, that it prepares you for what you do. And are there elements of that you've taken into doing what you do now? And
I mean, certainly having a diary system is a big thing. So I will I'm a list writer, and I was like that even when I worked in the industry. I'd always write a list of what I needed to get through that day. And I love ticking it off. Even if I've not wrote it down and I've done it, I will then go and put it on my list just so I can tick it off. And like, ridiculous. But so that side of planning is a big thing. Deadlines, I work great to deadlines. So if I know I need to get something done, I will get it done. Probably work better to a deadline than left to my own devices. And then also I think just dealing with different people. So obviously you've got your clients who are dealt with, who are very different to the barristers that I was dealing with, and the judges and other solicitors. So I dealt with a full genre of people. And that's definitely helps. I feel like I can go into any industry and kind of get an understanding for the person and
be able to communicate with them.
Yeah, exactly. So that has definitely helped in that sense as well.
Being a photographer, so people that work in social media for a business tend to not do any social media themselves because they're sick of it. And I always think if it's something like that where you could take anywhere and could be quite useful.
Yeah.
With friends and family, it could be like, oh no, here she is again. She's got a camera
With a
out.
camera
Stop
again.
taking pictures of me.
Yeah.
Or is it, can you take some pictures? You're really good,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
It's one or the other, isn't it,
yeah.
I suppose.
It's funny actually because my friends always laugh at me because I'm the worst selfie taker ever. One of my friends just nails it every time. So if
Yeah.
we're on a night out, no one will ask me to do a selfie. It's always my other friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite funny. But I suppose like with photography, I think because people know you love it so much, they expect you to constantly have your camera. But I think once you work in the industry, like you don't really want to go to a party and have to take your camera or somebody's wedding, or you know, it's nice. I've done it for friends where I photograph their wedding and stuff, but I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be working. I want to ask a plumber if they could bring the tools when they're coming for a dinner party or something, you know.
I've got a leak.
Yeah, while you're here.
Well, my sister does that if she needs a shelf putting up or something. She'll go, shall I bring anything with me? And she goes, yeah, bring your drill. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's not the same, is it?
No.
But yeah, it's important being a brand photographer, especially to be visible. Like I do need to practice what I preach. So I have my own branding shoots done as well.
Yeah.
Because I can't take my own pictures.
I've seen that recently.
Yeah.
Have you done that recently?
Yeah, with another photographer.
Yeah.
So yeah, when she approached me, I've done it with my friend before, who's another photographer.
Yeah.
But she lives out in Qatar at the moment, so
yes.
we only get to do it every now and again when she comes over.
It's a long range lens from Qatar.
Yeah, a little bit. So when the other photographer Victoria contacted me, and like she's an amazing photographer, so I was really flattered when she asked me to do a swap with her. And we rented a styled house as well, which was amazing because my house, although I love my house, like, you know, going into this beautiful home in Cheshire was stunning, and it's so great for clients as well. Like if they don't like their own space or they just don't want the faff with having it in their own home, you can rent these amazing venues, be it a house or, you know, hotel or something like that. And
you might not have an office or anything like that as
exactly,
well. So it's good to...
Or it's a box room in the house, or like me, I work from a dining room table a lot of the time. I don't want pictures there. So yeah, we did our own brand shoot, and I get it for clients. It's awkward posting pictures of yourself, but like no one really cares. Like people always say to me, "Oh, you're so good on socials." I think, God, I'm not. But to them, I am. You know, because they're seeing me regular, and then they remember you because you show up so much, and it is about being visible. Yeah,
sure. I mean, we first got talking because I'd seen a business acquaintance in Stockport on your pictures. And I was like, I know that person. This is a really good picture.
Yeah.
And then connected and started talking, and here we are.
Yeah.
With so you mentioned getting the first camera and then it was important to understand the capabilities and what was going on. Do you have any advice for people when if they've been bought a good camera and they're looking at the different images and the numbers, and you're like, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, when I went on that course, the guy literally said, okay, everyone take your cameras out. People were taking them out of boxes, you know, I was included.
Yeah.
And he was like, right, has everyone got the camera on auto? And we're like, yeah, that's me. And he said, right, you will never shoot on automatic again. Like, everybody immediately put your camera on manual. And I've never turned that down since. Yeah. Like people shoot on aperture mode or shutter speed mode. I've always shot on manual because I like the control. I like to be able to do it myself. And you know, there's nothing wrong with shooting on aperture mode or anything like that. But for me, I like that control of, you know, controlling all aspects of it. So I would say book on a course, like. Else it's going to stay in your box or it's going to stay on automatic. I've had a few people come to me and said, can you teach me how to use manual? And it can be just somebody wants to learn how to take nice photographs of the children or they're an amateur photographer themselves. My next door neighbour's daughter, actually, she's a photographer now. And I helped her from the beginning as well, which was nice. Nice to see her flourish in her industry now. Book on a course is my advice.
Book on a course, get the basics.
Yeah. Well, there's so many tutorials online as well, but
Yeah.
I'm a person who needs to be thrown in at the deep end. I couldn't sit and watch videos on things. No. I need to be doing.
Yeah. I'd say that for people looking to go into SEO as well. There's so many different platforms, cameras, different bits of software, different things to use. It's worth just doing the basics first and doing a course, getting to know the fundamentals and take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, you never stop learning. You know, there's always new equipment coming out. There's always new technology evolving. You know, AI, look at that now. So, you never stop learning. And I think, like anyone choosing a camera for the first time, just go into a camera shop and buy the best you can afford, buy second hand.
Yeah.
You know, but you need to feel the cameras in your hand and what feels right. I went Nikon purely because when I was younger I had a little compact Nikon camera, so as soon as I held a DSLR Nikon in my hand it felt right. Well, that's what my husband bought me, so I didn't have a choice. But when I upgraded I stuck with it. Yeah.
Have you noticed any impact from AI in your industry at all?
I mean, like photographers are hating on it all the time. Like it's a big bone of contention with a lot of people, a lot of industries, you know. But I just see it as a tool. Like it's a tool to use alongside any other editing software you would use. You know, you can outsource. You've been able to outsource editing for years. So I just see it as another tool to use. I don't see it that it'll take over photography. I don't think anything's going to beat the human eye and the connection and the creativity. You know, AI is an amazing tool and it can be used in so many different ways now. But I don't think it'll take over the human eye. No, I really don't.
So the funny thing, we've spoken a lot about it when it comes to copywriting and social media, and you know, everyone has said that there's a bit of a thirst for humanity.
Yeah.
And there's something that AI can't do is give you the benefit of their experience and say, have you thought about doing it like this, being in this location, or the lighting different, or the you know, but you can edit well, and we do it with sound as well, and we use it for sound editing for this and all sorts. Do you see any challenges in the future when it comes to your photography in general?
Not really. I mean, obviously, like every industry, it's saturated. iPhones are amazing now. There's loads of content creators out there who will do it all on their phone, and that, you know, that it's a great way of doing it, and a more affordable way sometimes. But I think if you want the full experience and you want them high resolution images that you can put on your website and they're not going to be pixelated or they're not the right format, then you need to invest in your business. I think if you want to stand out from the crowd, you want to be elevated, you want to be that go-to person in your industry, then you need to invest in your business, and photography is so important. You know, people land on your Instagram page, your web page. It's the first thing they're looking at is for pictures. If I go on somebody's page and there's not a picture of them on it, I'll come off. I'm not interested in a faceless account. I want to know who I'm going to work with.
If there's a website that we have that we're working on and the conversion rate is poor, but they have no images of the business, the people in it, how they go about it, that's the first thing I recommend is people need to see you. There's a trust factor with conversion, because if you're paying for something, if you can see where it's coming from and what they do, especially if it's family run and things like that, people love it.
I know of another photographer who was talking about a well-known company, a well-known bakery that's setting up everywhere, and it's very, very expensive, and everyone's going there and all the rest of it. But she was saying there's a lovely little bakery around the corner and it's a family-run business, and she will only go to that one because of who they are. So I think, getting to know, like, and trust the person will keep that person with you. I think when it's a company that's just a generic company, you've got no loyalty to that person. Most of my work comes through recommend, And that's because all my clients are lovely and we get a great relationship, and you know, we're normally friends after the shoot and we keep in touch, and I'm their biggest cheerleader because I love seeing their business flourish as well.
Sure.
You know, they help my business grow. They recommend me, I recommend them. So it's about that loyalty and getting to know the person who runs that business.
Great way of working.
Yeah.
So, if anyone is looking, would like to find you on to to get you for work or whatever, how would they find you?
So Instagram, Emma Boyle Brand Photography, or my website, Emma Boyle Photography. That's where I'm most active on. Email me, or just let's meet up for a coffee and see if we're the right fit, because I think that's one of the most important things is being the right fit together. You know, you need to be feeling relaxed in front of a photographer. There's nothing worse than feeling awkward. So get to know who your photographer is and that they're the right fit in terms of style and personality. So chat for a coffee first.
I recommend people look at the Instagram account because there's some great pictures on there.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. It wasn't as bad as I imagined.